If you would like more great interviews delivered to your inbox weekly, go to MMAStrikingCoach.com to sign up. Hello, this is Levi Wampler with MMAStrikingCoach.com. Today we're interviewing Jon Engum of ExtremeTraining.net. He is a senior Russian kettlebell certified instructor, certified martial arts grandmaster, a Gray Cook functional movement specialist, strength and conditioning coach. Did I say that right?
You got it.
Okay. He also has a book coming out soon. The title is 10 Man to Plastic Man, The Insider's Guide to Extreme Flexibility. You can find this on dragondoor.com. How are you doing today, Jon?
I'm doing excellent, Levi.
Good. It's good to hear. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got started in the martial arts?
You bet. I started training in martial arts at the age of 7. And basically it was the David Carradine Kung Fu television series that got me interested. I think a lot of people in my generation that are martial artists got started on it through that. Just thought it was pretty cool. And went to local martial arts school. Back in the day, there was only one available. Mm-hmm. And I happened to find an incredible grandmaster of the Korean martial arts of Taekwondo, and I've been with him ever since then.
That's great. What rank are you now?
I'm a 7th degree black belt in Taekwondo. I hold a 4th degree black belt in Hapkido and also a 4th degree black belt in Kumdo.
That's pretty impressive. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got started with the kettlebells and paddle?
Absolutely. I used to be very, very active in the competition scene, and I always liken it to being a rodeo cowboy. We had no idea of sports-specific training or sports-specific cycling in our training. We were just fighters. So Monday would be hard training. Tuesday would be really hard training. Wednesday would be damn hard training. Thursday would be effing hard training. Friday we'd travel to a tournament, compete all day Saturday. Sunday you'd travel home, lick your wounds, and figure out how to train around your injuries on Monday. And, you know, I had to add some pretty good success at that, but it was taking a toll on the body. Just like an old rodeo cowboy, I was getting beat up and getting stiffer and having all these different injuries due to the hard style of living. And I was becoming kind of embarrassed because people would come into my dojo to start learning martial arts, and they'd naturally display more flexibility than I was capable of showing, and I was the master. Mm-hmm. And you can imagine how that's at. So being a full-time martial arts instructor, I have the luxury to travel around and experiment and train with several different flexibility gurus, and I kind of made it my mission to find the silver bullet as far as flexibility training went. And I traveled all over the world and trained under all these different masters, and I discovered that there was a lot of misinformation and just a lot of bad training being given. You know, a certain person would say, do this for 5 or 6 months and you'll gain an inch or two in your mobility. Well, I really wasn't satisfied with that. I happened to run into this Russian guy named Pavel Satsulin, and his ad copy was just, it promised the world. You know, it was over the top. But I've always had the idea if you can just take 1 or 2 things from a seminar or a workshop, it was worth attending. So I jumped in with both feet and went there, and Pavel's like, Jon, do this and this and this right now, and you'll be in the splits. And it worked. And ever since I was 7 years old, I couldn't do a split. And it's like, this is just magic. Pavel said, Jon, if you like this, you have to try the kettlebell. And the rest is history. You know, that was like back in 2003 when he first kind of came on the scene, and it was just incredible. So I've been studying under him ever since. That's
great. Now, I've seen some of his books and stuff, and you're right, it's just he has these little things, these little tricks that can just increase flexibility, increase strength. It's just great stuff.
Yeah, they absolutely just unlock you.
Mm-hmm. Now, what would you say is one of the biggest training mistakes you think people make when, say, lifting weights or using kettlebells to improve their martial arts ability?
I'm glad you asked that. There's no magic in the Russian kettlebell. The magic comes in the system of how you use it. And Pavel's system of kettlebell training is the first and the best. It's called the RKC, which stands for a couple different things. It's Russian Kettlebell Challenge, which was his first book out on kettlebells. But more importantly, it's the Russian kettlebell style of training. And it's about going to the gym and not working out, but practicing a skill. As you know, flexibility is a skill, strength is a skill. It's about getting better at something instead of just going out there and mindlessly working out. So it's very much about form. It's very much about performance. You know, we don't want – a typical mistake is, especially in the martial arts, you know, we have this tough guy mentality, and we don't feel like we've been trained unless we feel killed after every practice. But that's kind of the opposite of what you're looking for in intelligent training. You want to go to the gym and bang out your practice or your workout and think of that as putting a deposit in the bank. You want to put a deposit in every time you work out. You don't want to withdraw. Save the withdrawals to fight night, you know. That's when you need to really peak. So the common mistake is, you know, they'll train martial arts for a couple hours and then they'll go and do their conditioning and just think about getting smoked instead of trying to actually practice the techniques or the exercises as a skill and get better at them. Another common mistake is going too sport specific. You know, for the average martial artist or the competitive martial artist, the conditioning and the strength is just the icing on the cake. You want to, you don't need to be so specific. General conditioning is pretty much where it's at. You know, you're getting a lot of that specific training done during your martial arts practice. In the strength training just needs to be strong. You need to be strong, you know. To have strength endurance, you have to have strength in the first place, and that's where most people, you know, fall down.
Okay, so you're saying we don't have to try to mimic all of our martial arts moves in our strength training. We can just do strength training for strength training.
Exactly. I mean, think about the basketball court is a perfect example. You know, some genius decided that they should have the basketball players practice with a weighted basketball, you know, throw free throws. And it turned out that when they went back to the actual basketball itself, their technique and their accuracy was off because it's, you know, throwing a weighted ball is not the same as throwing a basketball. And it's kind of the same thing with martial arts. You know, the kettlebell is a really good tool because it trains all the attributes you need as a martial artist, and you don't need to get so sport specific. So you're training a hip pop, you're training, you know, shoulder packing, you're getting plenty of endurance and conditioning as a cool side effect of learning and perfecting the skills of the kettlebell.
That's great. That's great. Now, speaking of the kettlebell, do you have a favorite kettlebell exercise possibly for improving your striking ability, either upper, lower body, all body, anything like that?
Yeah, I do. It's an often overlooked kettlebell move called the RKC arm bar. And now it's not an arm bar like you'd think of as a jiu-jitsu arm bar. It's where you're on your back, you press the kettlebell up with one hand, and you keep it vertical as you kind of roll over. Let's say you got the kettlebell in your right hand. You roll over the axis of your body on the left side, and you start turning your chest away from the kettlebell. It's kind of hard to explain, you know, without a visualization of it, but you're rolling and you're keeping that kettlebell straight up overhead. You're opening up your hip, similar to like when you kick or punch. You're stretching your chest, and then you're trying to creep the arm below you further and further back to get a big stretch in the lat. And we've taken, in fact, I've taken a professional boxer and had him hit an impact meter, and we took like 10 punches just to get a baseline of what his punching power was, his right cross. I taught him this RKC arm bar. He practiced it for maybe 25 seconds, and then he went and retested his punch. You would be amazed at the difference in his strike. In fact, the pro boxer actually got a bigger improvement than our average martial arts students. So take a pro athlete, a pro boxer who's making his living with this right cross. What would you be excited to hear that his results were? 5%, 10%?
Mm-hmm.
That would be huge. He improved his punching power by 37%.
Wow.
Yeah, in that one quick session. Basically, he was just taking the parking brakes off of his body. He was mobilizing his hip, he was stabilizing his shoulder, and he was able to use his body as one unit and put a lot of weight behind the punch.
That's
so you
great.
can find out more about the RKC armbar on dragondoor.com or your local RKC kettlebell instructor, and it is just huge.
Mm-hmm. Is that taught on the website, or is there a product that it's in?
You have to search around a little bit on it. There's a product that Paul puts out called Resilience. It's a DVD, and the armbar is on there. There's also some articles on Dragon Door, one written by myself on the study that we did with this boxer on the armbar as well. We call it amping up the roundhouse kick because we specifically used the armbar to create more power in the roundhouse, but it actually jumped his right cross up more than the roundhouse kick even.
Wow, pretty good. That's a good tip.
Yeah, it's just incredible.
Now, I know kettlebell's going to be on this list, but what do you think are your favorite training materials, equipment, books, DVDs, anything that you think fighters or people that are trying to work out should have?
Besides the kettlebell, there's a very good book, again written by my mentor, Pavel Satsulin, called Power to the People. Mm-hmm. And it is a very bare-bones powerlifting course, and it includes 2 exercises, the deadlift and a side press. It's very, very simple. You do 3 sets of 5, pretty much 4 or 5 days a week. You're always leaving 1 rep in the bank, and you're adding like 5 pounds to your lifts every week, and it leaves you very fresh. You're not tired. You have plenty of gas left for your martial arts training, but it makes you just incredibly strong. And that would be where I would recommend most people to start their strength and conditioning, is on the strength aspect and do a 6-week cycle of this Power to the People. Then after that, you might want to combine a 6-week cycle of Power to the People with a 6-week cycle of kettlebell, specifically the HKC3, which is the swing, the get up, and the goblet squat. And I think you could get a long ways just by cycling back and forth between those 2 modalities.
That's pretty good. I really like the idea you keep talking about leaving 1 in the bank and not overtraining, because most of the workouts that I see for MMA or any kind of striking always talk about working yourself to death during your training.
You need to do a little bit of that. There's such a thing as stress-proofing a technique and also mental toughness. But, you see those montages that people have before they do a fight, like a promotion video. That's not the way those guys train every day. That's specifically for the, TV. You need to, again, get better at the skill, stay fresh, practice your skills while you're fresh, and, look at quality instead of quantity.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Could you share some of the best advice that your mentors ever gave you? And it doesn't have to be about martial arts. It's just a piece of advice you think everybody should know.
Yeah. My grandmaster has what he calls the 10 Commandments of street fighting. Mm-hmm. And each commandment has like 10 parts to it. The first one is to know how to read body language. The second one is let the opponent look into the sun or see the light, because the eyeball is like a camera lens, and if it's looking into the light, it's going to be smaller, and you're going to have a small advantage that way. But his third commandment doesn't translate real good to English, but it goes like this: still water is rotten, moving water is fresh and produces fish. And what that means is you don't want to stagnate. You don't want to do the same thing. You want to always be moving and always be learning and always be trying to experiment and implement different things. Of course, you keep the true and tried, the stuff that's working for you, but you can't be in this, one mindset where this is the only way and my way is right and I'm never changing because it's tradition. You have to constantly be sharpening the tools. And I think you can apply that to not only martial arts practice, strength practice, but business practice as well. You know, you need to constantly be improving, sharpening your tools, looking for new and better ways to do things. And, you know, especially in traditional martial arts, we get stuck in this rut that this is the way it's done. We have to do it this way. We can't deviate, but that's still water, you know. You're stagnating. You need to be fresh and moving.
No, it's great. It's great advice. All right, well, thank you for speaking with us. This is Levi Wampler with MMAStrikingCoach.com. We've been speaking with Jon Engum. Make sure to look out for his new book, Tin Man to Plastic Man, Insider's Guide to Extreme Flexibility, on DragonDoor.com. Thanks.
Thank you.
If you would like more great interviews delivered to your inbox weekly, go to MMAStrikingCoach.com to sign up.